of the ESA's emergency cash program, but remember, it's one part of this wider multi-dimensional program. Large program delivering cash transfers to 15 million people, and if you take the fact that the average family size in Pakistan is 5 or 6, you're talking about up to 90 million direct or indirect beneficiaries from this program. And what Dr. Sania and her colleagues in the past ministry have done is deliver that cash in a way that is rapid, is efficient, is digital, and has massively reduced any risks of corruption. And they've done that by doing it digitally with the best technology, by constantly reviewing it. They've done that by checking the national ID and the bank account of every single individual. And there's been an auditable process. So that's all there for the record, it's auditable. This is very, very impressive to get that amount of cash to that many people that fast and that effectively in these very difficult circumstances that we've been living through. By the way, if you, for some reason, haven't got a bank account, you can opt in, but again, there are rigorous checks on identity. They also, in setting that program up, removed 800,000, just over 800,000 people from the previous beneficiaries of the BISC program. They removed beneficiaries, for example, where the spouse had travelled abroad, or the person himself or herself had travelled abroad. They removed beneficiaries where the spouse was a government employee. And in that way, they took 800,000 people off the original list to make sure that the money was actually going to people that it was intended for, to alleviate poverty and not to benefit people who had no right to that money. So that's very impressive. How did that work? Well, in the first part of the year when the COVID-19 crisis hit Pakistan and everywhere around the world, between March and May, the program design was worked out. The banks were brought on board. 2 banks who won an open competition became the partners of the government, and Sania Nishter herself spent time every day working with people who were organising that program in the banks and or in the provinces to make sure that the program worked and that problems as they arose were solved instantly. That itself was a very, very impressive bit of implementation. And one of the things that Dr. Sania and her colleagues in the past ministry have done very well is build good relationships across the federal government, with the cabinet and obviously with the Prime Minister, with the provinces. I've spoken to people in the provinces who are very, very impressed by the way the federal government has organised this. As you know, it's not always the case that people in the provinces in Pakistan think that the federal government has done a good job, but in this case, they unanimously do think that. I've spoken to the people in the banks. They too are very impressed by the daily routines that Dr. Sania achieved. And above and beyond all of that very meticulous implementation, Dr. Sania and sometimes the Prime Minister as well made field visits to check that the program was working at the front line. They weren't just waiting in Islamabad to hear the feedback, they went to find it. They went to see what was happening for themselves. So that phase has been really important, and if I can quote a British Prime Minister from the past, Winston Churchill, it's not the end of the program, it's not even the beginning of the end, but it is the end of the beginning. This first phase has been extremely successful, but now, and you will have seen some of these announcements made in recent weeks, now the issue is to move the program to be a system-wide delivery system to tackle poverty at its root causes, not just its symptoms, but its causes. And that's the process that's now beginning to happen. One coordinated strategy led by the Prime Minister and by Dr. Sania on his behalf, but involving the whole government. And I believe this will be one of the most ambitious programs anywhere in the world to tackle poverty, and Pakistan should be proud to have that program within its borders. I know Dr. Sania and her colleagues in the past ministry are working to design an effective delivery function to make sure that the whole coordinated strategy, not just the cash transfers that I've talked about, is properly organised, is properly delivered, and is monitored as it's implemented, and problems are solved as they arise. The last point I'll make concerns Dr. Sania's personal leadership of this programme. I've seen many leaders around the world implementing ambitious programmes. That's the work I do in many, many countries. But very few of them have all the qualities that Dr. Sania represents. Her dedication to the people of Pakistan, complete commitment to addressing poverty across the country, commitment to this programme, and loyalty to the government, ambition, a belief that even in very, very difficult times, this is a job that can be done and will be done and will make a big difference to the whole country. Clarity, so she doesn't hide problems. When she sees them, she looks them in the face and she tackles them. She works with her colleagues to solve those problems. In the early days of the design of the programme, she had a board with lots of yellow sticky labels on it, and she carried it round Islamabad through ministries saying, this is what I'm going to do, what do you think, consulting people, getting them on board, sharing her thinking with them and learning from them all the time. That then became the first draft of what is now the This programme. Her perseverance, this is difficult work. Addressing poverty in any country is a very challenging thing to do. It needs persistence. It needs to be seen through day after day. It's not something you announce in a press conference and then leave it to work. You have to work at it daily. She is working day and night to get this job done, along with her excellent secretaries. So I congratulate her on that. And probably the most important thing I haven't mentioned yet, and everybody I've spoken to, whether in the banks or the provinces or the different parts of the federal government, has huge respect for Dr. Sania's integrity. They trust her. They know that she is somebody who's genuinely committed to the politics of performance, not the politics of patronage. So those are my opening remarks. Thank you again, Minister, for the opportunity to contribute. Thank you, Dr. Sania, for the opportunity to collaborate with you, and thank you to everybody in Pakistan for the opportunity to join you for this conversation.
Views. Now I would request Dr. Sania Nishter if she wants to say a few things.
Thank you, Minister Saab. I'll be very brief. I want to thank you, Michael. We're deeply honored, deeply humbled by your comments. So Michael Barber is a great friend of Pakistan. He knows Pakistan very well. He's been deeply involved in assessing various initiatives. He's been advising governments. He's traveled in Pakistan far and wide. He knows the system extremely well. And I want to thank him for the time and attention he's given to SAS. I want to thank him for making SAS a part of his research. And I want to thank him for the encouragement and for the very valuable recommendations that he has given us. Michael, I'm going to switch to Urdu and we will make the proceedings of this press conference available to you, and will direct and translate any questions that we have. But let me begin. मैं इब्तिदा करना चाहती हूँ सबसे पहले तो मिनिस्टर साहब का कि वो आज खुद तशरीफ़ लाए, उनकी सरबराही में ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस मुनक़िद हुई। बहुत से सीनियर मेंबरान आज यहाँ मौजूद हैं। मैं आपका शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहती हूँ कि आपने टाइम निकाला। सर माइकल बार्बर हुकूमती अमूर में एक वर्ल्ड अथॉरिटी माने जाते हैं। ख़ास तौर पे हुकूमतों की जो डिलीवरी कैपेबिलिटी होती है, उनकी जो कारकर्दगी से मुतल्लिक जो साइंस है, जिसको डिलीवरोलॉजी कहते हैं, ये लफ्ज़ इन्होंने इजाद किया, इस पे किताबें लिखी, मरासले लिखे।